months or so is that there's over 16,000 Texans who've given amounts large and small because they're ready for a new governor. That's a lot more than support our current governor.
Thank you, Mr. White. Mr. White, the next question will start with you, and it has to do with border security. As governor, how would you secure our border? Would you support a policy that prohibits law enforcement agencies from asking a person who has been stopped or arrested for a legitimate reason if they are an American citizen, legal immigrant, or visitor?
Well, I would encourage all local law enforcement to engage in the same practice that I instituted in Houston, which is if you do not have picture ID that can be checked on the computer databases to see if you're wanted for on the FBI's database or the Immigration Services database, that we fingerprint you and then check you against that database. But it has to be that if you're apprehended for some crime, it can't be simply that somebody is driving while speaking Spanish within our state. I think we need to do a better job securing our border, and the federal government ought to step up. And I respect her philosophical integrity, Ms. Glass, but this is one place that I take issue with the plank within the libertarian platform that says that people should be given work permits, as many work permits as they can, so long as they're not criminals or terrorists. I think if we continue not to train Americans to do valuable jobs like nursing and welding, and that if we just opened our borders, that we would face a serious problem in this country. I think that the governor, if you look at what's happened with border security over the last 9.5 years, you can't say that things have gotten better under Rick Perry. I would lead all border governors to insist that the federal government of the United States do its job and help us secure those borders.
Thank you. Ms. Glass.
Border enforcement is, of course, the job of the federal government, and it's not being done. Now, this is not our fault, but it is our problem. Texas must act unilaterally to secure our border without waiting for the federal government, because we know that's never going to happen. We must act, not just talk. Talk doesn't get it done. Securing the border is a security issue, it's a safety issue, a property rights issue, a sovereignty issue. On many levels, we have to get this done. Now, my plan, and I don't know what platform Mr. White has read, maybe it's an old one, but our Texas LP platform, Libertarian Party platform, is clear. We must secure the borders. Now, my plan would be this. We secure the borders using our Texas State Guard, not the National Guard, but the State Guard, which is under the control of the governor. We do this because it's flexible, it works, we can move it where the need is. We need to beef up our State Guard to be ready for this task, but they can do it. Second, we need to eliminate all taxpayer-funded services for people who are not citizens. Whether it's health care, education, anything, no taxpayer-funded monies go to non-citizens. And third, all laws need to be equally enforced. That is, if you break a law, no sanctuary cities, if you break a law, you get prosecuted, even if you don't have papers to show who you are. If you have an auto accident and you don't have insurance, or damaged property and can't pay it, you have to be treated the same as everyone else. This is the way we can and must act now to secure our border.
Thank you. We have a lot of questions on education from the audience. Let me begin with this one and ask you to respond first, Ms. Glass. What do you perceive is the most pressing problem in public education, and as governor, what would you do to address that challenge?
As libertarians, we know that education is not a proper function of government. It's socialism, and it's no doubt, no mystery that socialism in education doesn't work any better than socialism in healthcare is going to work once we see how that works out in practice. Now, we have a Texas constitutional requirement to provide a minimal level of public education, and so we have to honor that. But in the time being, we are bankrupting ourselves on an educational system that we try to tinker with it every year, and we mess with it around the edges, call it reform. It never works because you just can't fix socialism. We're overpaying for a product, and we accept a grossly inferior product. What we should do is try to return to the way education was done not so very long ago when I and Mayor White were coming up through the public system, and basics, return to basics, provide what the state can. And this has to be in the context of an overall reform from top to bottom, but figure out what the state can and should provide pursuant to our Constitution. Do that, leave the local jurisdiction some leeway to add more things that they want, more frills, and a way to pay for it. But that's the only way we can work our way out of this educational problem that has plagued us for decades and decades and is never going to get any better unless we take drastic steps.
Thank you. Mr. White.
Well, this issue is the most important issue facing our state. And public education, higher education are the most important responsibilities of state government. We've fallen behind under Governor Perry. Texas is next to the bottom in the nation, above only Mississippi, in the percentage of our adults who have a high school diploma. We've seen college tuition skyrocket by over 92% in the last 6 years. That's eating the seed corn. That affects every